If you ask your teenager what the health epidemic of the 21st century is, they might say zombies. But if you ask the World Health Organization, they're going to tell you it's stress, and that might be just as shocking to you. As a matter of fact, we lose globally 12 billion work days or people power days every year. And that would amount to basically, you could take that same amount of people power and build the Panama Canal more than 26 times. So today, we're here to talk about one of the best ways to combat that type of stress and anxiety, which is mindfulness, with Heather Pownall as a part of the Human Intelligence series. So Heather, let's start it off and tell us, for those who don't know, what the definition of mindfulness is.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about this topic and so glad we are having this conversation. And I have to preface the whole conversation first by saying there is a lot to talk about when it comes to mindfulness. And in fact, I had the opportunity to attend a conference last year in Vancouver where for 3 whole days we focused on this topic of mindful leadership. So there's really a lot to unpack. And I know we only have about 8 minutes today. So we have a big task in front of us. But what we hope to do is maybe demystify what is mindfulness, why it's important, and to us as people personally, as well as within our organizations as leaders. And we will leave you with 3 specific things that you can start to put into practice in your daily life, at work, at home, to start developing or continue developing, if you're already on this journey of greater mindfulness, that you can put in place right away that will help to make a difference.
So back to that stress problem, how bad is it? I gave the one statistic, but I know you have thousands of others.
Yeah, there are a ton of statistics on the global epidemic of stress. And, I didn't answer your question about what is mindfulness exactly. So I want to talk about just briefly what mindfulness is, and then we'll go back to really contextualizing how big this problem of stress is. So mindfulness is a little bit of a squishy topic. It can be hard to get your hands around what that definition is. In fact, there are 20 different definitions from the leading organizations that work on nothing but defining what is mindfulness. But think of it as the basic human ability to be fully present in the moment that you're in, to be aware of what you're thinking and feeling, so your thoughts and emotions within yourself, as well as the experiences externally within the environment that you're in. So being open and present and fully engaged in the moment is how a basic working definition we can use of mindfulness. And it's a really effective way at helping to manage and cope with stress, which, back to your question about how bad this problem is, stress is a leading cause of work-related absence, as you just described, and it's an alarming statistic, right? 12 billion working days lost. There's a ton of research going on globally around this, and I'll share a couple more stats, which in the U.S., 77% of American workers are experiencing every day physical symptoms of stress, things like fatigue, sick stomach, ulcers, even hypertension, cardiovascular disease. Like these are the personal impacts of stress on us as individuals. And then in the Asia Pacific region, about 48% of workers stated they were unable to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Wow.
Due to work-related stress. So it really is an important topic. And again, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because organizations are starting to take notice of this and have been for years, but more and more organizations are really starting to pay attention to this because of the cost on our organizations of not addressing this problem.
So I think that kind of blends in well if you look at this and how it impacts the organization. That's got to be one of the things that matters to leaders. But really, in general, why should leaders care about mindfulness and controlling stress?
Right. I think first and foremost, and I'll speak for myself personally, we all want to make a difference. We all want to contribute something awesome to this world. We want to influence others in a positive way. We want to set big goals and achieve big things and make the world a better place. So we can best do that if we're fully present in what we're doing. If we have the self-awareness to understand that if we come into work feeling very anxious about something that happened at home that morning, that affects the people around us. And if we're not mindful of that, that can play out in an organization in a lot of different ways. So as a leader, it's very critical to have that basis of mindful awareness. And in fact, mindfulness is the foundation of other sessions that in the Human Intelligence series that have been that have come out recently around emotional intelligence and social intelligence, and both of those are really rooted in a mindful presence in the moment. So. Couple of really important statistics and about the cost of stress, again, why organizations should care. The average organization, for a highly stressed employee within that organization, the average organization is paying about $2,000 per year in healthcare-related costs for those employees.
Wow.
And then, Fidelity Investments came out with a report last year that showed 22% of organizations are implementing some form of a mindfulness-based program. And they're experiencing those companies, which, by the way, that 22% is expected to double, was expected to double last year. So more and more organizations are paying attention to this and putting mindfulness-based programs in place for employees, and they're experiencing $3,000 gained per employee in productivity. So these are just some of the additional
I think that's really compelling, because when you talk about things like stress and mindfulness, and it's easy to say it's squishy. But to me, that's return on investment.
Absolutely.
And you've got an economic return on investment. You've got a happier workforce, which I'm sure helps with retention, right?
Exactly.
So you can think about it as squishy, but if you don't deal with it, it has real impact on an organization.
Absolutely. The World Economic Forum has shared that the top skills that we need as leaders in the world that we live in today are not the technical skills, but these human intelligence skills. So we can brush it off as squishy, and people can continue to do that and not address it. But the leading organizations and the organizations that are going to win in the new environment we live in are going to be the ones who take these issues and address them.
So I've been waiting to get to the three things.
Yeah.
So and I think we talked a little before. And I think there's just some compelling things that people can really do. So let's give us three things we can take away that we can do to be more mindful.
All right, this is the great stuff. So three very specific takeaways that I will just say they're simple, but that doesn't make them necessarily easy. Just like driving to the gym and working out might be a simple concept, but it's not always easy to do that on a daily basis. So the first tip I will offer is do nothing. I know that's doesn't sound profound, but literally just do nothing for 1 minute, except for breathe. Keep breathing. And sit quietly for 1 minute. Set a timer, sit down, do nothing but breathe, and be in that moment of solitude with yourself for 1 minute. It's surprisingly hard to do that. In fact, there was a study done where people were put into a hotel room and asked by themselves and asked to sit alone in that room for 10 minutes. And the other opportunity they had in the room was to give themselves an electric shock. They could either sit quietly or they could zap themselves with a small electric current. And overwhelmingly, people just zap themselves rather than sit quietly.
For how long? You said for 10 minutes?
They couldn't make it 10 minutes, right?
10 minutes, wow.
So we're starting out really small because it's actually
shocking.
It is hard. It's shocking, exactly. So 1 minute, sit, do nothing, breathe. If you're ready for more than that, and just observe your thoughts and be open to them without being on the thought train. Observe the thought train. And check in with yourself. Maybe you're not feeling that well and you hadn't actually taken a moment to stop and check in. Become aware of what's going on within yourself. If you're ready for more than that, I would recommend one of my favorite apps, Headspace, which is, and there are tons of them, but that's just the one I have the most experience with. They have a ton of guided mindfulness practices that can help you focusing on things like creativity, and they have a number of other specific guided mindfulness techniques and practices you can use. So that app is Headspace. Number two, the second tip I would offer, and this is courtesy of Matt Tenney and Tim Gard, who actually wrote this book, The Mindfulness Edge, which I highly, highly recommend. This next tip, number two, is turn everyday tasks into mindful moments. So we all brush our teeth and wash our hands multiple times a day, and these are moments that we're typically rushing through, or eating meals. We might rush through eating meals with our smartphone that we're scrolling through. So turn those everyday tasks, those everyday things you're doing, into mindful moments where you're more present with the experience you're having. Brushing your teeth. How's your posture? Are your feet flat on the floor? Are you hunched over? Taking a moment to check in with yourself and use those tasks to practice exercising your mindfulness muscles. Mindfulness practice. It is a practice. It's not a one-time event. It's like going to the mental gym. So just like you wouldn't go to the gym and do one bicep curl and think that that was going to have any kind of effect on your overall fitness, you can't just do these things one time. But I think these tips are a very easy entry point to help you start to get a really good experience of what it's like to have that better quality of awareness and presence in the moment. So that's tip number 2, turn those everyday tasks into more mindful moments. The third tip, and this is probably the hardest, is take this device, if you have one, which most people do, take this smartphone and put it in a drawer for several hours a day. And I can hear people gasping, oh, I couldn't do it. It is challenging to do that, but the number of notifications and dings and alerts and things calling for our attention it's fraying our brains, really. The average person gets 122 emails a day. We're making about 300 decisions a day, and the average person is checking their smartphone 150 times a day. Average of 3 to 5 hours we're spending with our attention focused on whatever's jumping out at us.
Unfortunately,
from this
that's one place I'm above average.
Right.
I've like 300 times.
Right. So put that phone in a drawer, and if you're not quite there or think that might be too challenging for you, my bonus tip here would be download an app called Moment. Moment runs in the background of your phone, and it will track your usage of your phone. It will tell you how many times you picked it up to check it, what apps you were using, how much of that time you spent in email. And it will provide you with a report. So install it, let it run in the background for a week, and then look at your report. And like me, when I did this a couple years ago, you might be so alarmed with the statistics you see about your own amount of attention that is going to your phone that it will help to spark some behavior change. And hopefully these tips are helpful. So again, do nothing but breathe 1 minute. Download the Headspace app or another mindfulness app to help you if you're ready for more. Turn everyday tasks into more mindful moments, and stash that smartphone in a drawer for a few hours every day, and try that Moment app. And I do have a bonus tip on stress if you want to hear it.
Sure.
Okay. So stress.org is a great website that has a number of assessments that will help you kind of get a baseline of how stressed are you, what are the contributing factors to your stress. So if you really want to dig into this a little bit more, you can dig into stress.org and take some of those assessments.
That's great. And thank you for today and for doing the interview. And I want to thank everybody in the audience for watching, and tell you to keep tuned for more from the Human Intelligence series. And Heather, I also just want to say I think it's great that you brought in some of these little technology tools that we can use as well. So thanks again for that. So,
of course, my pleasure.
Thanks.